Our next presenter is Jacqueline King. Jackie is in the psychology department. I know her well. By the way, I didn't ever introduce myself on here. I'm Carlo Di Clemente. I'm the associate chair of the Department of Psychology at UMBCTube. So Jackie's in the psychology department, and her talk today is going to really talk about mentoring characteristics, the characteristics of mentoring relationships and positive youth outcomes. Actually, some data actually focused on the Meyerhoff. Okay, well, tell us what's about.
Sure. I'm going to share just a little snippet of my dissertation research involving the investigation of characteristics of mentoring relationships and positive youth outcomes. First, I'm going to share a little bit about adolescent development, followed by mentoring relationships, and then go into my research involving mentoring relationships within my sister circle. Adolescence. As many of us know, we've all been through adolescence. This is very trying physical, cognitive, and social and emotional changes that are going on at this stage of development. There's lots of things going on, such as us dealing with social identity. Who am I racially? Who am I ethnically and sexually? Personal identity. What are my goals? What are my future possibilities? And most importantly, who am I independent of my parents? And although research suggests that this is a time when adolescents are trying to figure out their autonomy to be separate from their parents, this is also a time when research has suggested that the positive adolescent development, these adolescents need a kind and caring relationship with an extra-familial adult. So these adults are considered to be natural mentors. The description of a mentor is someone who is a wise, trusted friend, a supporter, someone who offers you encouragement. In a study by Time Warner, they said that they found that 34% of adults surveyed in that study indicated that they had indeed mentored youth in the prior year. And of that, 68% of those adults said that they would consider themselves to be natural mentors. They were extended family members, neighborhood people in the neighborhood, coaches, teachers of that nature. Research by Emmy Warner suggested that, for the most part, disadvantaged youth have particularly benefited from this type of natural mentoring relationships. It is suggested by a study by Zimmerman and colleagues that these relationships help the youth to be resilient against risks that they faced in life. However, the availability of such natural mentoring relationships has been reduced because our communities are a lot less intergenerational as they were in the past. You don't have grandmothers living at home with the extended family members or aunties and uncles living next door. And also a lot of community centers have since closed. So this is about the influx of a lot of community-based mentoring programs. So to date, there are more than 500 youth services groups such as Boys and Girls Clubs of America. In addition to that, there are more than 17,000 state and local nonprofit organizations like Big Brothers and Big Sisters of America and my sister circle, which I'll talk a little bit about. These programs are helping to provide opportunities, experiences, resources, and they also promote healthy outcomes for the youth involved in them. Most importantly, they facilitate caring, ongoing relationships with youth and extra-familial families, which I indicated has been indicated in positive youth outcomes. So how effective are these programs? In a study by David Dubois and colleagues, they conducted a meta-analysis where they looked at over 55 program evaluations. And these programs were tapping outcomes such as academic achievement, behavioral conduct, and social competence. They detected and they reported a small to modest effect of mentoring for the average kid in these programs. And they said that the mentored youth surpassed 55% of the control group in issues of academic achievement and behavioral issues. So they said, okay, your mentoring works, but it's not the panacea, it's not the cure-all, but it will work for some kids. And what they detected, their take-home message was, it works for kids who are mostly at environmental risk. And risk meaning by that, they live in neighborhoods where they don't have the type of resources that maybe children living in middle suburbia would have. But if kids are at risk for individual risk, like highly at risk behaviorally, mentoring is probably not the best intervention for them. What David Dubois and colleagues also were able to do with that research was to look within programs to see is there variability within programs as far as how kids are going to fare. And what they found that there definitely was a positive impact inside the individual programs that they looked at. And for the most part, they found that predictors of outcomes were frequency of contact, how much time they actually spent together, what type of experiences the two engaged in together, activities and discussions. These were all predictors of positive youth outcomes in these programs. And in closing, they said that youth involved in relationships of higher quality reported the better outcomes. So, relationship quality, what does that mean? Even though it's been the distinguishing characteristic of mentoring relationships associated with these youth outcomes, it's been described in many ways. A study by Sticker and Palmer, they looked at school-based mentoring program, and they described relationship quality as intensity. How intense was this relationship? How close were these two at? And also, in a study across ages by Lustudo and colleagues, they looked at a mentoring program where older adults, 55 and older, were mentoring middle school and high school students. And they described quality as involvement. How involved were these two together? And then finally, David Dubois and other colleagues talked about relationship quality being closeness. Just a simple word, how close are you to your mentor? How well do you know your mentor and your mentee? So what I wanted to do was to continue this line of research, because most of the research in the past has looked at predictors and outcomes. What goes on in the middle? I mean, how does predictors affect the outcome? What goes on? So I wanted to look at some mediating processes. So, in order to do this, I wanted to extend the research on mentoring relationship by examining the association between the characteristics of the relationship and the quality, the mediator. And I also wanted to examine the contributions of the mediator or the mentoring relationship quality to these outcomes. I did this, I'm going to do this, I'm finally done. Yes. By examining or looking at ongoing relationships within my sister circle over a 9-month period. I used multi-source data. I collected data from the parents, the mentors, and the mentees. I used cross-informant data. I wanted to find out, okay, if the parents are, not the parents, the mentors give me their predictive information as far as like frequency of contact and experiences, would that be related to the mentee's outcome data? It's a lot more rigorous in trying to find the connection. So I wanted to add that to the arena of the mentoring research. And also, I collected qualitative data. I wanted to hear the voices of these people in my sister circle. So I collected qualitative data. I conducted semi-structured interviews with 6 mentor-mentee pairs as well. Some of the outcome measures I was interested in addition to academic performance, were perceived benefits of the relationship. How well did you benefit from this relationship? As far as, did it help you with your self-worth? Did it help you get along better with your parents and other adults in your life? And as well, I wanted to look at gender identity and also future orientation. So the setting is my sister circle. It's a mentoring program in Baltimore City, in the city of Baltimore, and a very good model. The model is mainly based on the Big Brothers and Big Sister model, where they take girls in the 5th grade and they mentor them with volunteer female mentors. It's a strength-based program, and the purpose is mainly to facilitate a close caring relationship between the adolescent volunteer and the mentees. My sister circle offers tutoring programs, program-sponsored events, life skills training, field trips, community services. And what's really interesting and very nice about my sister circle is they ask for a 3-year commitment, which is really unheard of in the mentoring literature. Usually it's a 1-year commitment. But as we all know, 1 year in an adolescent's life is really not going to be enough time. So it's going to go quickly through these next couple of slides. Mainly what I just want to focus on right now is, this is my conceptual model of the factors involved in these outcomes. So there you have the relationship characteristics affecting the outcomes, the relationship quality being the mediator in the middle. I had 42 dyads, my study. Time 1 and time 2, I gave the mentors, parents, and mentees surveys, as well as collecting semi-structured interviews and also using multiple regression analyses to do the analyses. Descriptive statistics. The average age of the mentor was 37 years. Mentees' average age were 13. Ethnicity, as you see there, 35% for the mentors, and mentees were over 84% African American. Some of the measures, just of interest, is the amount of contact that the two spent together. So on average, they spent about 3 hours together, or three contacts per month, and average time spent was 3 hours. This is my first hypothesis. that mentor-related characteristics would be related to mentee outcomes, and this was founded. So, as far as mentors were concerned, the hours that they spent together predicted the youth's perception of their benefits. And it accounted for 22.3% of the variance in that model, which is not bad. So that's, there's still stuff out there that wasn't accounted for. I need to find out what that is, but that's for future research. Hypothesis 2, also confirmed. Mentor relationship characteristics were found to predict that were related to mentor relationship quality. Again, hours spent together was related to how what the mentors perceived as how close they were with their mentee. And relationship quality, yes, it was indeed related to perceived benefits, accounting for 9.2% of the variance in that model. So that was, hypothesis 1 was confirmed. Frequency of contact, such as hours mentor reported hours spent together related to mentee benefits. Closeness, relationship quality related to closeness, and closeness related to perceived benefits. And I'm happy to announce mediation did occur. So in my research, after controlling for covariates such as length of the relationship, how long they had been involved in a relationship, closeness did mediate the relationship between characteristics and quality. So yes, it does, you need to have contact, but more importantly than that is what happens, what does that contact denote? If you get closeness from that, you get a feeling of this person is someone who cares about me, someone who's going to be there for me, and that leads to those outcomes. So summary and implications. So research findings were implicated, which is always good to do. So people can continue to say, yes, this is where we need to continue to go in mentoring research. We need to look at characteristics of the relationship. We need to look at quality, and then we need to look at what type of outcomes are from that. Within program, differences were detected. So yes, not everybody in my sister circle is progressing at the same level. My sister circle executive directors, they need to know this. They need to know, okay, what is it you found that, okay, if I met with my mentor 3 times a month, then yeah, that's the benchmark. So from my research, I can take this back to them and say, this is what I found from your group. So this is where you may want to, to put your resources and continue in this realm. And relationship experience do play a role, although they weren't statistically significant in any of the models that I made up. Recreational and also educational discussions were significantly related, but when I put them in the mediation model, they fell away. But that is good to know. They need to know that specifically there were specific types of relationships, activities and discussions that were related to outcomes. Strengths and limitations of the study. The strength of this study is that it was a gender-specific mentoring program evaluation. Because there are more and more of these popping up all over the country, I thought that this would be a very good way to, and somehow, to put that out there. Because there are not that many gender-specific mentoring programs, but there are enough of them this size that they would look at this research and say, oh, okay, we can go forward and do research on a small subpopulation such as this. What I did in my research was look at change over time. Because I had 2 time points in September and June, I was able to see what predicts elevated received benefits from September to June. So I was able to do that in this research, which is not generalized. Some of the limitations are the sample size, not generalizable to all mentoring programs or larger mentoring programs. And causality, always. Did contact cause the quality, or were they close, because of the contact, or they felt close because they had no contact? It's the whole causal loop. And the conceptual model, was it sophisticated enough? There are other things that could have plugged in there, other things like the ideology of the girl about her gender identity prior to that. So there are things that were not in that model that may have been individual differences. And finally, I'd like to acknowledge my sister circle, Dr. Ken Matton, the Meyerhoff program, and my mentors and residents, Jacqueline, Robert, Alex, our parents.
We have time for 1 or 2 questions.
Yes.
Did you use qualitative methods to measure closeness?
Yes, I asked the question in the qualitative data about closeness. So I used quantitative and qualitative data, yes. I didn't have time to talk about the qualitative data.
Good question.
For the gender identity, I actually used feminine ideology scale, and I used the subscale about body image. So I really honed in on what the girls thought about their body, because I thought that was very, very significant and very important in this stage of development. So I honed in on that. As far as future orientation, I asked the questions. The survey is about future connectedness in school. Like, do you do things outside of school that are related to your schoolwork? What kind of future do you think you'll have as far as your education? So that's sort of like future orientation, like where do they think they'll be as far as education?
One last.
Yeah, how would the perceived benefits be happening?
It's a 38-item measure. We validated, I think that was 0.92. And this asks questions like, my mentor was a companion with me. My mentor helped me improve my self-worth. My mentor helped me get along better with others. So it's just global benefits of the relationship, not necessarily broken down, but when you look at it, you can see that it's tapping things like interpersonal relationships, self-worth, future goals, things of that nature. But it's